Object-oriented programming has become an important style of programming in the computer music field. Object-oriented programming is when you use methods to interact with objects that contain data. One of the most prominent pieces of software used in the computer music field is Max, which is currently being sold and produced by Cycling 74. Originally written by Miller Puckett and named after the recently deceased Max Matthews, the program utilizes a simple-to-use GUI, or graphical user interface, which extracts the user from the daunting lines of code to create visual patches. Max is composed of three intertwined programs: Max, MSP, and Jitter. Max allows you to make visual connections between multiple devices and provides limitless control of this data. MSP introduces the real-time monitoring and synthesis capability of audio. And finally, Jitter implements the same concepts pertaining to real-time video. The completely blank page when starting a new patch often intimidates many new users. However, with just a few concepts grasped, anyone can quickly create complex patches combining the video, audio, and data spectrums. We can begin by doing what the page says. Double-click the screen. This brings up every data type structure one can use in Max. For example, let's use a simple button, toggle, and a number box, which only deals with whole numbers. Before moving on, an important concept to understand is whether or not your patch is locked. In the bottom left corner of the patch window, there's a padlock, and when the padlock is unlocked, which it currently is, your patch is unlocked and you can freely edit all objects. Notice though how I cannot yet interact with my objects. I can only move their positions. To interact with my objects, I must lock the patch, which puts it in an active state. Now I can click my button, trigger my toggle, and adjust my numbers by holding the mouse button down and dragging it up or down. So let's make these three objects interact. First, we must unlock our patch. Now, much like dealing with electronic circuitry, we must use virtual patch cords to connect our objects. Each object in Max has either an input or output, and in most cases, both. These are the heavy black lines found at the bottom and top of each object. If you hover over the inputs and outputs of any object found in Max, it gives you a short explanation of what type of data should come into their input or what information will come out of the output. Certain objects may have a user-defined number of inputs and outputs, depending on the type of data you are working with. To make the button interact with the toggle, click the output of the button and drag it to the toggle. When the red circle comes up, that means you can make the connection. Now when I lock the patch, the button will trigger the toggle to change. It sends what is called a bang. A bang is just a message sent through the patch cord to say that a certain event has occurred. In this case, when I press the button, a message is sent to the toggle to switch. You must utilize bangs in any complex patch to allow events to trigger other events. For example, you may wish to send a bang after an audio file is done playing, which in turn triggers a new file to start. Now, let's connect the toggle to the number box and see what information the toggle is sending out. The toggle is sending out either a 0 or a 1. In terms of computers, the numbers 0 and 1 often represent the state of being on, like how the toggle shows an X, or 0, the state of being off, no X in toggle. Now I can click the button to send a bang, which triggers the toggle to change its state, while the number box is then telling us, using numbers, which of the two states it's in. When coming up with a program, or in this case a patch, the idea is that you're creating an algorithm, or a sequential list of instructions or processes to solve a problem. If, for some reason, I was asked to press the button precisely every 2 seconds, which in turn would trigger the toggle off and on every 2 seconds, I would need another new object found in Max. In our data structure types, there's one called object. Double-click object, and in this box you can write any object in Max. I can type button, and the interface for a button will appear. However, not all objects in Max have a specific interactive interface. If we wanted to send a bang to our button object every 2 seconds, we would use the Metro object. If we don't know what an object does, we can always look it up in Max's built-in library. If you control-click on a Mac or right-click on a PC, you can click Open, whatever the object is, in this case Metro, Help. What is very nice about Max and most audio programming software is their help libraries are fully functional and interactive. It is a homemade patch. Unlock it and take whatever code you want from their examples. In this case, a non-zero integer will start the Metro, and a 0 will stop it. So I will unlock the patch and take their pre-made toggle and Metro combo to output a bang every 2 seconds. By clicking and dragging my mouse over the area I want, and pasting that highlighted portion, I can move it to my patch. Be careful when stealing or experimenting in their examples. Be sure not to save over their libraries. Now, there is one problem. It is currently set up to trigger every 500 milliseconds. Max always uses milliseconds to deal with time unless otherwise noted. So let's change the Metro's argument to 2000 milliseconds or 2 seconds. An argument is any information that can be changed within an object to alter its performance. Now, as we saw in Max's help, it will send a bang every 2 seconds when any integer other than 0 is sent to its input, and continue until it's told to stop with a 0. So let's connect the Metro to the button and see if that happens. There are many objects like Metro to be found in Max that have special functions, all with extensive help examples. One last important window found in Max is what is called the Max window, which can be extremely helpful when debugging patches. It is found under the Window tab. If, for an example, an object is receiving incorrect data or uploaded audio files that cannot be found, this window will tell you immediately as you run your patch. If something in your patch isn't working properly, checking the Max window should be your first step. There's a large community based around this and other software like this, where people have created numerous tutorials or developed their own objects that have unique functions that can be imported into Max, also known as external objects. It is important to note that the other major object-oriented programming software with a GUI, like Max, is Pure Data, or PD for short. Miller Puckett also wrote the software after writing the original Macs, and made it open source. Open source software means that it is freely available to be downloaded online, and comes in source code form, allowing users to have full access to the nuts and bolts of the software. These types of programs are often user-driven, creating a friendly and collaborative community. Everyone contributes to the ultimate final project.